What's up, guys, and welcome to Week 10 Panic Room. I am joined by Tony from Fantasy Quick Hits and Kyle from Boom Bust Fantasy Football. Whoa!
You forgot to pause that, didn't you? or
I did. I forgot to mute it. Sorry. Anyways, Kyle from Boom Bust Fantasy Football. I'm Corey from Boom Bust Fantasy Football. Let's hit some Week 10 Panic Room. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you? How are you, Corey?
Good. Doing really good. We already got Zamud Auto Sales over here. He said lost by 0.5 points. Very angry.
Ouch.
He has Cordero Patterson. Sorry that my Cowboys shut that down, but
yeah,
I just won by 0.8 points in a league. I just won with Elijah Mitchell getting a couple rushes there at the end. So got lucky there because I was playing against Deebo Samuel and he went off.
Me and you were talking about that right before. We had a lot of matches go really close this week.
Yeah.
It was kind of a weird week for that. A lot of close matchups for us. So
yeah, I think we had 5 games that finished within like 3 points.
Yeah, it's going around for sure.
Oh, Andy benched the Panthers defense. Dang. So
Yikes.
Rough week there. Hate that. Saran says 6-way tie for first in his league, and everyone is within 50 points for each other, like the points for. So that's a tight league right there.
They're
probably like league. It's probably a 6-way tie for first. They're all like 3 and 5. You know, everyone's doing bad together.
That sounds like a very competitive league.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's get started. Kyle, you got the games list there. Let's go ahead and run through these games and then talk about any panic players we got, and then we'll hit up some of the chat and get that going.
Yeah, so let's just start with Thursday Night Football and hit Baltimore at Miami. You go through here. Obviously, the running backs did poorly again. I think we're past the point of panic on them. We panicked on them weeks ago and dropped them probably even. Bateman did better than Marquise Brown this week. Same amount of catches. I don't think we need to panic on Brown, though, because he still had 5 more targets than Bateman. Y'all agree?
No, I agree.
I'm not panicked on Brown. I will say that and I've been high on Brown the past few weeks, I would say. Bateman looks like a different type of receiver in this offense, and Brown is very one-dimensional. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rashad Bateman surpass Marquise Brown in this passing offense. Would not catch me off guard if that were to happen. So I'm not down on Brown, and I'm not saying panic on Brown, but I'm beginning to like Bateman more and more every time I watch him play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's always been kind of the ding on Marquise Brown, and he's very one-dimensional, like you said. He's kind of that one-trick pony deep ball guy. We've seen him run a few more shallow routes this year, but definitely Bateman more complete, I believe. So I'm with you.
Yeah, that's a good way to say more complete. My only issue or concern with Marquise Brown, again, I still love Marquise Brown rest of the season, is his game really rests on how well Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball that night.
Mm-hmm.
If Lamar Jackson's on, it could be a good night for the receiving core. If Lamar Jackson is not on, then they just seem to be out of sorts. So you're really kind of tethered to Lamar Jackson, and there isn't a whole lot of consistency with him on his deep ball.
Oh, yeah, not at all. But I mean, Hollywood Brown gets a lot of targets, so there's some good upside there. But like you said, I like Bateman more and more every time I watch him play. He's looking good out there.
And Devonta Freeman was one of the guys we said sell. I think he was on our Wall Street as a sell. He was a bust from last week. Again, this is the kind of stat line that we predicted. 10 carries, 35 yards, 3 catches, 23 yards. You just cannot trust any of these running backs. So if you didn't learn your lesson in prior weeks and then with us kind of really talking about this quite a bit, hopefully you learn your lesson this week.
Yeah, hopefully. Jumping over to the Miami side of the ball, Gaskin, another pretty solid workload, 14 carries. He had 1 catch on 2 targets, but only 31 yards on those rushes, 14 yards on the 1 catch. He's getting good workloads, but are we panicking on that production?
His efficiency is really bottomed out, so
Yeah.
it is concerning. And remember, Malcolm Brown comes back from IR, so I'm definitely panicked on Myles Gaskin at this point. I think in Dynasty he's a long-term hold, but in redraft, he just is not looking like a feature back.
No, I suspected he would get more targets. It seems like his target share was going up since week 5. He's had 10, 6, 4, 4, 6, and then this last week he had 2 targets. And it was just like, eek, what happened there? So not looking pretty.
Yeah, that's where he was making up some of that shortcoming in the run game, and without that, he's literally he's Mike Davis 2.0.
Kind
That's a
of.
good assessment.
I mean, that's what he is.
Yeah,
Waddle still getting his target shares. Only had 61 yards this week though. I know we're not panicking on Waddle, but Gesicki 7 targets, no catches.
Ouch.
Are we panicking at all on that performance from Gesicki?
Yeah, I'm not panicked on Gesicki. He still had the target share. He's still a part of this. Matter of fact, he was the target leader in that offense on Thursday night. So I'm not panicked on Gesicki. It's difficult to find a tight end who's going to give you that type of target share. Of course, we don't like the fact that he didn't catch any of them. But
it's hard to get no catches.
Let's also remember that Tua came in later.
Yep.
Brissett started that game, so Tua is going to be back behind center this week. So I think that definitely helps this receiving core: Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, it's very hard to get no catches on 7 targets. But Ford and Wilson both had, 4 catches apiece, just like Waddle. So hopefully they won't spread the ball around that much going forward and stick with Waddle and Gesicki, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and I think they've already said that Tua will start this next game. So, yeah, Gesicki, not worried on him at all. It's funny, even over here on Sleeper, it literally says, this was just one of those fluke performances, so fantasy managers shouldn't panic. He has a fantastic rebound spot against the New York Jets next week. So, yeah, don't panic on Gesicki. Also, just so everyone knows, we are running through all the games really quick. We'll touch on all the panic players, and then we will come back to your chat, and we'll just open up the chat after we run through all the games. So just let everyone know.
Real quick, since you brought that up, Corey, that might be a good spot to move Gaskin. Gaskin's got beautiful matchup this week against that Jet defense. It's been one of the weakest defense versus opposing running back. So look for Gaskin. If there's ever a week where you're going to start Gaskin or think about starting him, it would be this week. But it might be a good time to try and move him or trade him after this game against the Jets, depending on how that game goes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm sure we'll dig much deeper into that on Wednesday on Wall Street.
100%.
Yeah. All right, let's skip ahead to the next game, Atlanta at the Cowboys. Patterson had a down game. We're obviously not panicked on him.
No.
You weren't using Davis already. I guess the obvious choice here is Russell Gage. I'm panicked on Russell Gage. Obviously, I'm probably dropping him everywhere I got him. He's worthless. What do y'all think?
You can't trust him. I mean, my opinion, he hasn't proven to be trustworthy at all. And that, I mean, I don't know what my expectations were, but they were better than 0.
Right.
So
flex worthy, right? But
yeah, I'm over Russell Gage.
Yeah, Russell Gage has produced in prior seasons and prior games. Last year without Julio, without Ridley. So I think we all expected him to do a lot better than we've seen from him the past 3 weeks. First week without Ridley kind of just maybe chalked it up to the injured groin and maybe that offense being out of sync. Last week, he looked to get back on track. He did have a strong target share. And again, this week now back to the goose egg. So the issue with Russell Gage is he could have the occasional big game. The problem, though, is that he could also post you a 0.
Yep.
And that you just can't afford to have a guy in your starting lineup give you 0 points. And so if you have the potential of that, you just can't roster him. So I'm off Russell Gage. Patterson, I will say he sustained an injury, and I'm not sure when it happened in the course of that game, but he's at risk to miss Thursday Night Football with the sprained ankle. So I think that also contributed to his down stat line. He's still going to continue to be involved in this offense, but kind of keep an eye on an injury report this week, whether or not you roll with him on Thursday night.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, I'm trusting Zacchaeus more than I am Russell Gage.
You can't start Zacchaeus. The only guy you can start in this offense.
No, I said I'm trusting him more than I trust Russell Gage. I didn't say I'm starting him. I'm not picking him up. I just said I trust him more than Russell Gage. That's how bad I feel about Russell Gage right now.
Oh, I got you. I was going to say, because I don't want that 2 catches for 22-yard stat line either.
No.
Kyle
but at least
Pitts,
he had 7 targets.
Kyle Pitts and Patterson are the only 2 guys you can start in this offense.
That's it.
Yeah, and everybody expected Pitts to have a better game in this spot, but I mean, you're still not freaking out. You're still not.
I thought it was going to be Pitt's game. I thought this was a Pitts game, and he started off in the first quarter 3 catches for 52 yards, and then he just pulled off afterwards.
But that was more of a Matt Ryan and the defense getting after Matt Ryan more than it was anything with Pitts. So definitely not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Pitts.
I agree.
Let's jump over to the Cowboys side. I don't see anything to panic about over here.
No.
I do.
Maybe Schultz being 1 catch for 14 yards with Gallup back.
Yeah. I think this is really what a lot of us expected going into this season, and kind of saw the writing on the wall when Dallas drafted CD. But this passing offense belongs to him. And I'm panicked on Amari Cooper if I own Cooper. He just has not been able to get on track. He's been very up and down this year. He started out the season with a bang, but even in this spot against the Atlanta a defense, 4 catches for 51 yards, he just continues to put up pedestrian numbers. And if you drafted Cooper, you were looking for him to be at least a wide receiver too, and he has not been one this year.
Yeah, there's a reason why CeeDee Lamb wears the number 88 in that offense.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm panicked on Cooper, and Gallup is not going to hurt. Is not going to help him moving forward. So, and I see somebody's got a trade question here. We'll get to them, but I would not want to lean on Cooper as my receiver. He's just too unpredictable, and I don't see him producing in a game like this where Prescott went off, and for him to get just 51 yards is concerning to me.
Yeah. What do you think, Corey?
I don't know that I would call it panic. But yeah, I would agree. I mean, he's still the 23 wide receiver in PPR on the season, but with that being said, he had almost 40 points in week 1. So that's a huge boost right there. And then in week 8, he had 26. Other than that, 15 is his top line, and his floor has been at about 5.5 points 3 times. So he's also kind of becoming that boomer bust. But I would say even from a wide receiver too, if you're averaging, 12 points a game, that's better than some of my wide receiver ones are getting right now. AJ Brown, thank you. So I'm just saying, like, he's performing better than Calvin Ridley on the season and AJ Brown and these guys that were drafted way ahead of him. So CeeDee Lamb was going ahead of Amari Cooper in most of my drafts. So I don't know that I'm necessarily, if that puts me at a panic level or just a sad, disappointed level.
But in all fairness, AJ missed 3 or 4 games with a hamstring issue, and Calvin Ridley has been uninvolved in the offense, to say the least. So to compare them to those guys wouldn't necessarily be a fair comparison. I'm just talking about the games
they play, though. Even when they're playing, like AJ Brown, when he's playing, I mean, he's delivered on maybe a couple games, but so many games where he just hasn't delivered,
Okay.
I'm not even counting like their rank. Of course, AJ Brown's going to be like, he's the number 30 wide receiver PPR. Okay, he's missed some games because that injury and stuff. You can't really count that against him. But yeah, I mean, he's also had some really bad weeks in there. So, I don't know. That's just really tough to say. I'm panicked on Cooper, but you're right. CeeDee Lamb is easily the number one wide receiver there.
He just looks like it.
He's so good.
I'm not a pro scout, but he passes the eye test. He just looks like a different type of receiver, aggressive, explosive.
Yeah.
Cooper to me is
even in college, he was a yard after catch beast.
Yeah,
he was a monster. So, but also, Gallup first week back, Schultz 1 catch, 2 targets, 14 yards. You panicking on him or just one of those weeks?
On who?
Dalton Schultz.
Just one of those weeks. It will be interesting to see, because that was the big concern with Gallup coming back, is that Schultz stood to get hit the most, and certainly we saw that this week. But I would definitely continue to hold him and stash him and see how this passing offense develops in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's too early to panic on him, but definitely want to keep an eye on it.
If you have Schultz, it's most likely because you picked them up off of waivers.
Yeah, it's hard to panic on a waiver
claim. Hopefully you have
another
option you can start.
It's hard to panic on a waiver claim sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's jump down here. New Orleans at Tennessee. I mean, I guess the only downside to the Tennessee side right now, Ingram had a great game. That receiving core, though, Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway and Smith getting the TDs this week, but it seems like Harris is going to be very, very involved in that offense too. Does that make you panic any on like Callaway? Were any of those ownage percentages up enough to really panic on any of these guys, or just expect a rotation from week to week?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think at any point one of these guys can, can have a mini breakout, but very, very evenly split. Simeon is not known to have a strong arm, so he's more of a check down type quarterback, and they did a lot of that this week against that Tennessee defense. So, you do see a decent number of targets and receptions, but not big yardage. So, and you can't depend and count on those touchdowns. So and I know you can't go back and say, hey, let's take the touchdowns out. But if you remove those touchdowns, there just aren't any impressive stat lines here that I think would make me interested in wanting to start one of these guys.
Yep. Yeah, but you're right. Simeon is a check down. I mean, Mark Ingram had 7 targets. So that's some checking down right there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump over to the Tennessee side. A.J. Brown had a down game, but you're obviously not going to panic on him. Nothing else in the passing game really worth talking about, I guess, with Julio out. That running back committee, though, is interesting. Foreman actually took the lead on that this week. So people who use all their fab money on McNichols and Peterson, you panicking on them right now?
100%.
Yeah, I'm worried.
One more than the other, or both?
This is a full blown committee.
Yeah. I'm more so like panic more so on Peterson. I think we knew what to expect from McNichols. Nothing's going to change. His role is pretty much the exact same, right? But Peterson, everyone thought like, okay, he's going to come in and get the bulk of everything, and kind of fill in that spot. Same type of runner. Probably spent a lot of fab on him to get him in there, and then this was just not great. Like Tony just said, that turned to a full blown committee. I mean, not great. Not a great thing.
No, but that's a really good take on Peterson. I agree with you. And when the injury happened to Derrick Henry, there were some sites calling for 50% fab bid on Peterson. So people were going all in on this guy. And you're right, he has not delivered and kind of what we expected. It's funny because when you see AP, it's hard not to think of AP in his days in the Vikings, but he's just not that runner anymore. It's hard to be that runner at 36.
Now, so.
What's that?
With multiple
he's a 36-year-old running back now. So.
Yeah.
Multiple knee surgeries and all that stuff. Like, he's just not the same fella.
I really wanted to see him wind up in Tampa Bay so that he and Tom Brady could set the all-time record for the oldest duo of quarterback handing to a running back. I don't think you can trust any of these guys.
No, I don't trust any of them. Not necessarily that I'm getting rid of Peterson though in the leagues that I have him, which I think might be 2. I think I'm just going to stash him just in case. Plus, that it doesn't help that I have a personal love for Adrian Peterson being an OU fan, so that's probably not helping me be non-biased right now.
I hear that. One quick PaNiC here, and a guy that we don't see on the stat line, and that's Julio Jones. If you are a Julio owner and you were holding out hope like I was that he was going to give you one last productive fantasy season, he's been a bust.
Yeah,
he's been a bust. I think if you're the Tennessee coaching staff, you're hoping that he can somehow get healthy along with Derrick Henry to make a push into playoffs. But he's just not going to be a guy you need to have on your roster.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Which is crazy because that was the talk of the offseason. Julio Jones, and where's he going? And he goes to the Titans. Oh, big deal, and then womp womp.
Womp.
What a letdown.
I call it the Brady effect. I think so many of us have seen Brady play so long and so far beyond his years. He's kind of continued to go up that he hasn't fallen off the proverbial quarterback cliff. And somehow it's tricked me into thinking all these guys can just play forever. And, it's just Brady is an anomaly. And as much as I hate to admit it, because I had Julio, I had stock in Julio, but
same.
Yeah.
I guess you can go ahead and hit that.
If you have
question
Julio,
about
you can drop Julio. He's on short-term IR right now, and he just can't get healthy. His hamstring's going to continue to be an issue.
What was that, Kyle?
I was going to say you could pop that Jorge question up there about dropping Julio since it has to go with this.
That's why I commented.
Game, but yeah, I mean, I think you can drop Julio for sure at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he's worth hanging on to, unfortunately. I mean, you're this deep into the season too. You're coming up. I mean, your playoffs are about to start. It's deep in a fantasy season, so he's no good.
So
and when he comes back, you're not going to trust him to play.
He's on short-term IR. He can't come back until week 13. You're not going to play him in week 13. No. And then in week 14, you should have your roster set by then for the fantasy playoffs and not depending on Julio coming out to help you. The problem with Julio is at any point he could tweak that hammy and you could, he could lose him in the first or second quarter of a game, and then there goes your fantasy season in the playoffs.
That sounds like such a Julio thing to do too.
Yeah, like you're not going to start in week 13, and then week 15 your playoffs are starting. So there's just no point in having him on your roster anymore for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop off of that and jump to Jacksonville at Indianapolis. James Robinson with the heel injury still had a pretty good day. So there's no reason. I mean, Jamal Agnew kind of went crazy in the run game too, but it's very, I guess, tragic. The receiving core, 2 catches for Marvin Jones on 6 targets. Chenault actually had more catches on more targets, but fewer yards. I guess, are we already past the point of panicking on these receivers for Jacksonville? And on Trevor Lawrence, you can kind of lump him in with all of that. That whole passing game is just unusable, right?
Yeah, I haven't owned stock, or I haven't started on any of my rosters anyone on the Jags all season long because I'm smarter than that.
Not even Robinson?
What, Kyle?
Not even Robinson?
No.
Huh.
I don't have him in a single league. I just stayed away from that offense. And good call. It's like my one good call of the season, so I'm just probably going to retire now.
Dan Arnold's become the leading pass catcher in that offense now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tony?
No, I think I like James Robinson. I mean, the fact that you don't have him on your team doesn't mean he isn't a good fantasy starter. He's been a solid running back this season. He gets a workhorse volume. He didn't get it this week because he came off that injury, and I know they were talking about sharing carries between him and Hyde really didn't get much usage at all. So they shied away from the run game this week, but I think he gets back on track next week. I do like James Robinson, and Arnold is an interesting guy. I was down on Arnold just because I agree with Corey as far as not really necessarily wanting to buy into this offense. But sometimes the best friend for a rookie quarterback is a tight end, and Trevor Lawrence definitely trusts this guy. So
Yeah.
Big
he is a
time.
guy that you can absolutely play in a pinch. And this was a tough matchup for him this week against this Colts defense. So the fact that he was the leading receiver, 5 catches for 67 yards, kind of really, I think, cements him as a low-end tight end 1.
Are you to the point? We already dropped Chenault weeks ago. Are you about to the point where Marvin Jones isn't rosterable anymore?
I don't think there's anybody else on that other than James Robinson and Dan Arnold. I don't think there's anybody else on this offense you can.
I agree. And when I passed on James Robinson, to be fair, it's before Etienne got hurt. So yeah.
Now,
and then when he went down, I was like, no, because James Robinson is going to get that workload. So not at the very beginning of the season, but then he did.
There was an interesting occurrence this week. I mean, with Jamal Agnew, where they ran into the ball with him 3 times. Is that an anomaly? I know we broke one for a long touchdown. You think that's an anomaly and still drop him, or are they trying to use him more like Cordell Patterson is in Atlanta?
I don't think so.
Just a fluke.
It seemed like Debo had that role tonight, by the way, in Monday Night Football.
He did.
That's role. It feels but like I don't think Agnew. I mean, you look at his involvement in the pass game, and last week I think he was the leading receiver, or at least had a nice involvement with the passing offense. This week, zero receptions. So that's a concerning stat line. You certainly can't trust him every week to do 3 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, I'll take him out of my lineup really quick.
The thing with Cordell Patterson is in his role, he was getting a healthy number of touches between running the football and targets as a receiver. But Agnew, no, you can't trust anyone here.
Yeah. Okay, so jumping over to the Indy side, Wentz had a bad game. No reason to panic there. Again, just one of those games. Allen had a bad game against Jacksonville too. It happens. Taylor doing Taylor things. Hines, we already panicked on last week, and we're selling on Wall Street. There's really nothing. I mean, Pascal, maybe you're panicking on him if you're looking at him as like a flex type guy. 2 catches for 9 yards. Anything to add to that for you guys?
The only guys you're going to play here are, Wentz has been playing out of his mind.
Yep.
Kind of had a down week this week, but he's been in that quarterback QB 12 range on the season. Jonathan Taylor could be the number 1 running back right now in fantasy. Michael Pittman, he's looked fantastic. Yep. And as far as Pascal is concerned, if you have Pascal, me personally, I'm not playing him. I'm just holding him in case something happens to Pittman. Because if Pittman should miss any time, I think Pascal's, his position at offense gets elevated. They do give him some red zone looks, but I don't think he's rosterable or playable.
All right, let's jump on to the next game then. Let's hit Cleveland at New England. We'll start with Cleveland. Nothing to panic on in the run game, but Jarvis Landry in a loss that large, only 4 catches for 26 yards. We panicking on this pass game with Baker and these receivers, and Baker got hurt, I guess, part of the way through.
100% though.
But if Baker misses time, but even when Baker comes back, are we panicked on Landry as an option?
Do you think Landry does better with Keenum instead?
Landry is in my mind, his comp is Jacoby Myers. Like, he's a guy that's going to give you a high target volume, but his stat line is always going to be 6 catches for 60 yards, that type of stat line.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the touchdowns. And this is a team that really wants to run the football. I think that's their identity. That's kind of how they have built their offense with that offensive line. And Chubb's going to be back. We have Kareem Hunt coming back off of IR. Landry to me is no more than an occasional flex starter. Yep. I had him and I dropped him. So just because his floor is so low and his ceiling is equally low, he doesn't give you that high ceiling on a weekly basis. And they're just not letting Baker's just not throwing it that much.
Yeah.
No. They don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
geez, they're just running the ball all over everyone.
Panic button on Tony.
Do what?
Sorry, I'm looking through the chat and Jay Gordon said panic button on Tony.
Oh, yeah. In all caps, FYI.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right, let's switch over
Am
to
I
the New
that out of
England
sorts?
side.
You want to go to New England?
Yeah, let's jump to New England. The only thing I see on New England side right now worth panicking on is maybe if you have Damian Harris, you're panicked he's going to come back to half the workload after Ramondre Stevenson tears it up for a bit by himself.
Yeah, I'm worried about Damian Harris because Ramondre Stevenson was absolutely fantastic, which we all know that Ramondre Stevenson was a good running back and just put in a bad situation there in New England. Anyways, he finally got his time to shine, and he took advantage of it. He took good advantage of it. So I'm worried on Harris.
Damian Harris, I've been calling to sell for weeks now. He's a touchdown dependent running back, doesn't give you the type of upside that Stevenson does because Stevenson is involved with this passing game. He only had 4 catches for 14 yards, but in a PPR, that's 5 points. That's almost the equivalent of a touchdown. Yep. So I love Stevenson. The only thing is you just don't know with Belichick what he's going to do from week to week. I wouldn't be surprised if going into next week Stevenson's a healthy scratch.
I was thinking the same thing.
I know.
So,
oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah. It's so funny, but it's true. That's the scary part. Is it's absolutely true.
He's gonna trade him to Cleveland or something. Who knows?
All right, let's jump down to Buffalo at the Jets. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs bounce back. Zach Moss only 7 carries for 27 yards, still had a touchdown. Singletary 7 for 43 and a TD. So Matt Breida was actually
so stupid.
He got the most touchdowns. We are completely panicked on this running back core, correct?
I wouldn't say you're panicked, but
I'm freaking out. I got Moss in a lot of leagues, and I'm freaking out a little bit.
Okay, just remember, Moss was coming off concussion. He was a game time call. There was a chance he wasn't even going to play in this game, so you didn't know until about an hour before the game, before kickoff, that he was active. So he was working his way back from a concussion. Let's see what his role is this week, and if his role doesn't increase this week, then maybe be a little bit panicked. But this particular game, this offense just. I think it was just game script. They lit up the Jets. They didn't lean on the run game as much as we thought they might. And, I'm not worried about Breida. Breida only had a handful of touches. He just happened to be highly efficient with those touches, but you can't expect that on a week-to-week basis. I'm still bullish on Moss. I mean, if you have Moss, of course I don't want to say you're hoping, but his value skyrockets if anything happens to Singletary.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You might be buying low on him after this week if you're desperate for a running back.
I think so. I think that's a good play.
Now, what about in that receiving core? Gabriel Davis was actually the second leading receiver, not Sanders or Beasley.
Fluky.
Again, just one of those games.
Fluky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like seeing Dawson Knox only get 1 target.
Yeah.
But this, if more than anything else, this was just a Stephon Diggs game. They love
wanted
the
to get him going bad.
They love the matchup this week, and they just fed him the football all game long. I mean, he had 4 times the number of targets than any other receiver on that team. So that was a Stephon Diggs game.
Yep. I think that's just something you kind of get with these receiving cores that have 4 or 5 good receiving options in them. I mean, players are just going to have down weeks, and some are just going to boom some weeks. It is what it is. And it's like Schultz. Schultz had the same kind of week as Knox. It's just, they'll get theirs.
Yeah. Jumping over to the Jets side, I don't really see anything to panic about here. Pretty much everybody did what you expected them to do this week for the Jets. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah, I was disappointed. I mean, Corey Davis had a decent game.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed that Corey Davis had such an impact on Elijah Moore, because Elijah Moore seemed like he was just starting to kind of come on. Very talented receiver, but that they're going to each cancel. They're going to cancel each other's value out quite a bit. I think my panic is, did the Jets play the Bills? Did they play them twice this year, or they get them again?
They play them in week 18, so right
Okay,
out of that
so
fantasy
probably not a
schedule.
fan. I was going to say, you're going to panic on them week 18
Yeah.
against the Bills defense again. Especially Mike White. Mike White got boy, did he get humbled on Sunday coming off that monster game he had 2 weeks ago.
No joke.
Knocked back down to earth a bit, huh?
Yeah, seriously.
All right, let's move on to Detroit at Pittsburgh. Goff, panic. Swift doing Swift things. And Hawkinson had a big goose egg on one target, but we're not freaking out on him, right?
An anomaly, but what a trash game. I mean, that game was not good all the way around.
Ended in a tie. Neither team wanted to win. Like, it was just horrible to watch.
It was the ugliest NFL game I've probably ever witnessed. It was sad. It was really sad. But it makes it hard to panic on anybody when you're seeing that. I mean,
well, you're panicked. You're panicked on the Detroit receiving core. You're not playing any of these receivers. Hawkinson, absolutely nothing to worry about. Hawkinson, just an off game for him. On the Pittsburgh side, Deontay Johnson still had his game. What I like is the fact that Freiermuth still had his 9 targets. So this guy is really beginning to emerge as a legitimate weekly starter at the tight end position. Najee Harris had his touches, but this team will look a whole lot different once Big Ben comes back next week.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to panic on the Pittsburgh side either. It was just
not at all.
It was a bad game. It just was what it was.
Yeah.
Freiermuth, I mean, I saw multiple passes hit his hands and a fumble. So he finished with 6.1 points, but should have been more. Easily should have been more. It was just sloppy out there, and it was just unfortunate. So Freiermuth has his opportunities, and do not panic on him. He's looking absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Let's move on to Tampa Bay at Washington. Don't really see anything here to panic about other than they lost, obviously, to Washington, which was a shock for Tampa Bay. But the players all kind of did what they've been doing, it looks like.
Did Washington hold a parade the next day?
They should have.
They should have.
Y'all got anything you're panicking on the Tampa Bay side?
No. I think it's surprising to see them do that coming out of their bye. But yeah, Mike Evans to me is, I don't want to say he's a panic. He saved his day with that one touchdown. Mike Evans, and I talked about him last week. Mike Evans to me is such a sell. Two receptions. This is without Antonio Brown. This is without Gronk. This is with Chris Godwin being a late, kind of late in the day start because they thought he had a chance to miss this game. And still only 3 targets, 2 catches for 62 yards. That touchdown really saved them. So we're going to see more of these types of stat lines from Mike Evans. I'm just not big on Mike Evans. And, again, I wouldn't say I'm panicked, but this might be your last opportunity to sell. Can I jump to Washington?
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, just to further your point there, Evans had fewer targets than Ty Johnson, and the same as Cameron Brate and Gio Bernard. He just happened to catch that one long 40-yard touchdown that, like you said, saved his day. I got a hair hanging off my hat, Bill's bugging me. But anyways, that just further your point there. So over on the Washington side, you had something you were going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if I'm panicked on anybody, and panic might be too strong a word, but we might have to now lower our opinions of J.D. McKissic, because McKissic seemed to have a real role while Gibson was dealing with this shin injury. Gibson, he wasn't highly efficient, but he had the touches against a very tough Tampa rush defense. So 24 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. The fact that he carried the ball 24 times and he had 2 targets out of the backfield, you got to like that a lot if you're an Antonio Gibson owner.
Yeah, he only had 2 fewer targets than McKissick. So,
yeah, well, I mean, McKissick was more involved when Gibson seemed to be struggling with the injury, but he apparently is getting healthy. To have, to touch the ball 26 times, that's elite volume. And this guy's one of the most talented running backs in the league. So I'm anxious to see what he does rest of the season.
Yeah, the coach is giving him the ball that many times shows they're not really worried about his injury anymore, I would assume. So,
yeah, obviously.
Yeah, McKissick, he didn't get much usage at all. 2 attempts, 2 rushes and 4 targets. Not a lot.
I mean, people expected probably McLaurin to have a better game here, but you're still not panicking on him. That happens sometimes.
No, he's a freak of nature.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Panthers.
He's a freak. He's the fastest kid alive.
Are you done?
Maybe.
Moving on to the Panthers at the Cardinals. McCaffrey did fine. Anderson actually got some production for a change. But I guess, are you panicking about I hate to say the word panic with McCaffrey, but Cam Newton sniped 2 really short touchdowns from what could have been McCaffrey's.
And then Hubbard got the 3rd. What the hell?
Yeah, so are you freaking out or anything about that, or was that a little fluky as well?
Yeah, I would be nervous about McCaffrey with Cam coming back. I'm nervous about the receiving core. DJ Moore, Cam Newton is not necessarily known for his passing prowess. He's more of a rushing quarterback. So, it's if you have Cam and you're able to grab him in a 2 quarterback or super flex league, you got a lot of upside there, mostly because of his rushing ability and his ability to score from inside the 5. But DJ Moore, I don't think he's doing any favors for DJ Moore. So DJ Moore, I don't see him breaking out of his slump. The one guy who now becomes a little bit interesting is Robbie Anderson. He does seem to have a little bit of a special connection with Cam, and you saw that a little bit yesterday. You might want to stash him just to see how this offense comes together. He's available, I'm sure, in
he should be available. We told everybody to drop him a month ago.
Well, I think everybody, he's been widely available. But
are you paying attention, people?
Yeah, he's a guy that I will probably have on my waiver ad this week, just to stash and see what happens with that chemistry between him and Cam.
Yeah, so on CMC, I'm going to disagree a little bit because CMC's been a stud and his career has been played with Cam Newton. I mean, he didn't really play last year much because of the injury, and this year he hasn't played much because of an injury. I mean, when he was playing with Cam a few years ago, he was doing fantastic. It does take away some of those goal line carries, but also it might open up some goal line opportunities if teams are having to respect Cam's running ability down there too. So even with Cam Newton as quarterback, we've seen CMC produce absolute number 1 elite numbers before. So I don't know that changes here, especially since Cam isn't as good as he was then. So he's gone downhill a little bit. I'm not that worried about it, honestly. This was an annoying game, absolutely. But also, you see CMC putting up 20 points, and he didn't even score a touchdown. Or 26 points. Sorry. 26 points and didn't even score a touchdown. If I could get that kind of production out of player, I'm ecstatic.
So on my panic scale, from 0 to 10, I would say a 4. And let me tell you why. I don't disagree with anything you just said. Most of McCaffrey's damage came in the receiving game. 10 catches for 66
10
yards.
catches is huge.
And that was all PJ Walker, who does not have the NFL experience or pedigree to kind of open up that pass offense. So it makes sense that they would do a bunch of dump offs to McCaffrey. Cam Newton is not that guy. So I'm not saying McCaffrey's value is shot, but I'd like to see what it looks like with Cam under center. Cam also is a little bit of a head case. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes onto this team, this stage of the season, feeling like he has something to prove. And I don't know. It's a question mark for me with Cam Newton, and he is going to, Cam is going to rush the football, and so that's going to hurt him as far as the goal line carries and goal line touches. So we'll see. I hear you. I don't disagree with you.
Well, but your disagreement is a little bit. I'm looking back here now that I pull up. I guess Cam Newton. I'm looking at his 2019 season.
I'm not talking about Cam Newton in 2021 though. That Cam
I know. I'm just saying because I'm just kind of going back on the point I was making earlier of him. Not necessarily true what I was saying earlier, because I'm looking at like this 2019 season, and I was like, he was playing with Cam. He had 15 targets, 12, 12, 10, 15, 10. And then I look over at Cam Newton, and he actually didn't play that 2019 season. He was injured, right? So I'm like, oh, that's actually not true. So I was incorrect there. I just had to go back and correct what I was saying. Now, back in 2018, he did play, and he did have those kinds of numbers still. Not that often, only 4 games, 11, 10, 11, 13, but it wasn't like I was saying. So I had to correct that just a little bit because that 2019
I appreciate
season.
that. But two other quick, since you had two other quick follow-ups to McCaffrey. It's a different coaching staff, and
that's a good point.
Who's the coach? Who's the coach of I can't think of his name for the Redskins
right now? For who?
Ron Rivera.
Yeah, Ron Rivera. So Ron Rivera really built that team to feed the ball and funnel the ball to McCaffrey. That was part of their philosophy on offense, and
which is why everyone was so excited about Antonio Gibson.
And McCaffrey now coming off of the ACL injury last year, the injury earlier this year, I just have some question marks for him moving forward, and wonder if they're going to kind of temper, pull back his usage a little bit. So we'll see. I think, like I said, on a scale from 0 to 10, it's a 4 for me. I'm not trying to make anybody nervous about McCaffrey, but
I don't think a 4 makes people too nervous. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place, like 3 or 4 on the scale. But McCaffrey's not the same guy he was. Cam's not the same guy he was. They're both a little bit older, a little bit more worn down now. It's just like you said, different coaching staff, different offense. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. I'm definitely not panicked, but you do have to temper your expectations a little more. He's still going to be an RB1, but he's going to be a lower RB1. He's going to be a maybe 15 to 25, depending on if he gets in the end zone point per week kind of player, instead of your 30, 35, 40 point per week kind of player that he was before last year's injury. So you just have to temper your expectations a little bit, but I don't think we're panicking.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and jump on over to Arizona. I didn't see anything here worth panicking about. Y'all got anybody that jumps out at you on the Arizona side?
I mean, it doesn't help the quarterback situation. I'm not liking the Ertz production. It's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be, but also the quarterback situation is not great with Kyler Murray sitting out, so that it's hard to kind of judge those players with these injuries going on. So I don't know that I necessarily have any panic setting in. What about you, Tony?
I agree. I'm not, also just real quick on Connor. We kind of talked about this last week in Wall Street. We were not expecting him to post big numbers against this Carolina defense. So for those who rushed out and grabbed Connor, who had Connor and had big expectations for him in this game and didn't get the type of production they were expecting, this is a great buy low moment. And we again talked about this in our Wall Street on Wednesday, that look for Connor to have a little bit of a down game against this Carolina defense. He's going to be highly involved with this offense, and this is a great buy low opportunity on him now.
Yeah, I mean, he just has, with that offense not moving the ball, Connor's been scoring a lot of touchdowns, and he didn't have those short touchdown run opportunities because they weren't moving the ball down into the red zone very much. So, which is where he's he's getting a lot of scoring opportunities. So yeah, I would say it was just a bad situation for Connor, and I'm definitely going to be trying to snag him in a league or two.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking for trades there for sure. Let's move on to Minnesota at the Chargers. Start with Minnesota. I don't really see anything worth panicking on there. Did y'all have anything that jumped out at you for Minnesota?
As far as panic, no.
They had a pretty good game. They got Jefferson back on track. Thielen even did pretty well, even though I know me and you, Tony, were talking about it last week. He probably have a down game. Still ended up with 5 catches for 65 yards, so you're not super disappointed in that.
Not at all.
No, that's pretty good. Conklin had a hell of a game.
Conklin had a pair of touchdowns on 3 catches. 3 catches, 11 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's definition of a goal line vulture right there.
That's Uzomah numbers, right?
No, too little yardage for that.
That's true.
Let's jump over to the Chargers side. I'm in full freak out on Mike Williams. What do y'all think? This was a good spot for him to get right, and he didn't.
I mean, if I hadn't have been just calling it for the last 2 months, then I might be panicked. But just saying, saw it coming. Not really. But yes, I'm not trusting Mike Williams by any means if I have him.
Thank Tony.
Yeah, Mike Williams still had the looks. Keenan Allen doubled them up, but I hear what you're saying on Mike Williams. He, to me, is still a stash.
I'm not dropping
him. This is a guy that if he can get back on track, Herbert has been struggling a little bit these past few weeks, but I'm looking for them to get right. And once Herbert gets right, we've seen what Mike Williams could do earlier in the season, and I'm still betting that at some point they're going to get back on track, and he's going to become a consistent fantasy producer down the stretch.
I can tell you, if they don't get right before, where they'll get right is week 14 against the Giants,
and week 15 against Kansas City, and then week 16 against Houston.
That's where I was fixing to say. They go Giants, Kansas City, Houston, back to back to back, 14, 15, 16. But right. I mean, they could come out and do all right against Pittsburgh, Denver, Cincy, and the next 3 too. You just never know, because they did good against some tougher opponents. I think he's got something going on.
Yeah, I mean, his schedule is fairly easy here down the stretch. He has Denver in week 12 and week 17. He's got Vegas in week 18. But other than that, he's got mostly neutral matchups. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just saying, if you've got him, I'm going to stash him and hold him and see if he gets back on track. Because if he can get back on track in time for the fantasy playoffs, having a guy on your roster who gives you the potential, like the type of upside this guy does, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, you definitely can't drop him, and you're not going to get what he's worth in a trade. So you might as well stash him. Let's roll on through and go to Philly at Denver. Everybody ran out and grabbed Howard. Only had 12 carries. Boston Scott had 11. Howard got hurt, though, I think.
I think that sounds right.
But I don't know how far through. But Devontae Smith had a day. Are we panicking on Goddard? He's just not doing anything with Ertz gone like we thought he would. What do y'all think, Tony?
Yeah, I think we overestimated Jalen Hurts, and he's going to have these types of games. Philadelphia seems to be a team that really wants to run the football. Another game here where they had almost 40 rushing attempts. Actually, I think they did have 40 rushing attempts right on the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when you have a team that rushes the ball 40 times and only throws 23 passes, it really limits your ceiling for your receivers, for your tight end. Devonta Smith had a great game because of those 2 touchdowns, but 4 catches for 66 yards. So, those stat lines are going to be kind of a little bit more pedestrian and not those high reception yardage numbers. and become more and more touchdown dependent. So yeah, I am a little bit panicked about these receivers, mostly because they really want to run the football.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts had 14 rushing attempts just on his own there. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
a lot.
I love it as a Jalen Hurts owner, but to a point. I mean, that can only go so far because his 14 rush attempts are only 53 yards. It's not like they're Lamar Jackson rushing attempts. Lamar Jackson has 14 rushing attempts. It's over 100 yards, most likely. So it's a different kind of rushing attempt for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The only upside I have for Goddard is his schedule. I mean, he's still got to play the Giants twice. He still gets to play Washington twice. Gets to play the Jets. I mean, that's the only thing he's really got going for him is a sweet schedule.
Yeah. Let's switch over to Denver. I mean, you expected Javonte and Gordon to have better days. Each had less. Javonte had 8 carries. Gordon had 9. You thought they'd do better against Philly. They didn't. But I don't think we're panicking on either one of them. We didn't expect either of them to be really RB1s this year anyways. But I think we continue to panic a little bit on Sutton. 2 catches for 29 yards. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think Mel Gorman was a sell high for me last week.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams is going to get increasingly involved in this rushing offense. And, Melvin Gordon did get the touchdown look. But these are, again, the stat lines are not impressive at all. 9 carries, 45 yards. There is good efficiency there as far as the yards per carry. But unless one of them is getting involved in the passing game, I just neither one of them is going to have real value unless something happens to the other. So
yeah.
And as far as Cutting Sutton is concerned, this offense really belongs to Judy. That passing offense. He's the number one receiver in this offense, and we knew once Judy got there, kind of Sutton and Patrick RoOm was going to rotate weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So I would continue to see that trend moving forward.
And Fant had a pretty decent game too.
Yeah, Fant 6 targets. Yeah, so 5 catches, 59 yards. Yeah, I'm not liking Sutton right now at all.
All right. Yeah, I don't think we see anything else there worth panicking on, though. So let's roll on. We got to get through 3 more games, and then we can start hitting questions real quick.
Cool.
Okay.
Seahawks at Packers.
I'm
what
sure there's
happened
lots
with the Seahawks? Are we panicking on any of them, or was it just a bad week?
Yeah, I think it's a bad week.
I think it reminded me a lot of Dallas last week. Dak coming back off the injury, nothing could get going. I feel like the same thing happened to Russell in that offense this week.
I feel the exact same way. I feel like coming back off that injury, it was just rusty. A lot of this is you're in a season, you're getting in a groove, right? Mm-hmm. And not only was Russell coming back off of his injury, but at the same time, the rest of the team is coming off of a bye. That is not, I don't know. It's just a recipe of there's no groove there, and so I feel like it's just an anomaly kind of thing. Just move on.
Feel the same, Tony?
Yeah, well, Russell wasn't fully healthy for this game. We saw him on the sidelines still dealing with some type of sleeve on his finger. And I think Aikman commented did Aikman call the game, or was it Chris Collinsworth? I don't remember which game it was, but whoever it was, I think it was Aikman, commented about how that affects how you're able to put velocity on a ball and control the ball. So Russell said before the game he was about 90%. And I'm going to look for him this upcoming week to really kind of be the Russ that we know. I'm not panicked on these guys. I saw there are a bunch of questions in the chat about the Seahawks, and I'm not panicked about DK. Tyler Lockett, we've been talking about all along. Tyler Lockett, no matter how healthy Russ is going to be a boom or bust receiver. He is going to give you your 30-point game, and then he's going to give you three follow-up games of 5, 6, 7 points, and then he's going to give you another 30 games. So the secret to playing Tyler Lockett is to try and predict when he's going to have the boom game, because it's like 1 in every 4, 1 in every 3. So, but DK is going to be fine. What was interesting to see Gerald Everett get so involved in the passing game, at that tight end position. So I wonder if that is something to keep an eye on. But he had just as many targets as DK and Lockett.
Yeah. Corey, your mic's working fine. He was seeing you talk on Instagram and thought your mic stopped working.
Oh, yeah. I was just double checking that really quick. Could you hear my scraping of the microphone?
That's why I did that, is to let you know it was working.
Sorry. I do love this though, the screw locket.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Sushi Lover.
That's so funny. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, we're about to go through your chats here in a second, but I am also talking to some Instagram peeps over here, so we have kind of a dual thing going. So apologies, I will mute myself to talk to the Instagram people too. We're just such a big deal or something stupid like that. I don't even know why I said it. All right, Kyle, let's go.
Anyways, let's jump over to Green Bay when Corey's done rambling. How do I mute from this side? No, I'm just kidding.
You can.
AJ, I'm sitting. Okay, Aaron Jones gets hurt. Looks like it's a mild sprain. Maybe miss 1 or 2 weeks. Not panicking there. In fact, probably an amazing buy low opportunity. However, you're not going to get Dillon off of anybody's hands. Nothing to freak out about in the passing game. Business as usual.
I mean, Rodgers didn't have a great game because AJ Dillon just
better, but Dillon ran all the touchdowns in, so nothing to panic on there, right? I don't see anything.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing.
I mean, he had 292 yards passing. They just ran it in at the goal line. I mean,
yeah,
it's just how the cookie crumbled. So,
yep. Well, if there's nothing, let's move on to Chiefs at Raiders. Chiefs back on track. Didn't see anything to panic on the KC side anymore, right? Everybody's panicking for the last month, and then they just come out and annihilate the Raiders.
Yeah, that was a shellacking.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Tony?
As a Raiders fan, how does that make you feel? Show me on the doll where the Chiefs hurt.
Not good. So I will give you a panic guy though. On the Kansas City Chiefs, it's nice to see Mahomes play what we expected from Mahomes, and for all those people who were panicked on him the past week or 2 or 3. This is the type of game you expect from him when you draft a Patrick Mahomes. Because if you draft Patrick Mahomes, you took him early in the draft. Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce looked fantastic. It's good, kind of good to see him get back on track. I know he's had some down games here. Tyreek Hill could be, I don't, maybe not necessarily the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, but he's top 2, top 3. Yeah. The one guy that I am panicked on here is Darrell Williams, just because CEH is back. And, Darrell Williams was undrafted running back. CEH really is tied to this coaching staff. And Darrell Williams, I don't want to say that that he isn't a good running back, but he's not a CEH. And CEH coming out of college was known to have elite receiving skills for a running back. And really that's Darrell Williams' not his involvement in the offense, because he does get the carries, but that's his upside here, is if he's getting these receptions out of the backfield. I think that all goes away. I think CEH comes back, takes back the number 1 running back role here, and Darrell Williams goes away. So if you're a Darrell Williams owner, I think you be grateful you had him for as long as you did. You were able to ride him, but I think this running back, this backfield really is going to belong to CEH.
It kind of feels like they didn't figure out how to use a running back in that offense until CEH got hurt, though. So hopefully he can come back and get the numbers that a Darrell Williams has been getting.
He was trending in that direction.
Before he got hurt, he wasn't doing great.
He was trending in that direction. He was trending towards 18 to 20 touches a game. And I think we might not see that necessarily from him his first week back.
Right.
But if you have CEH and you stashed him, you're gonna have an opportunity here to use him. And if you can buy low on him now. Because there are some people who think that there's going to be a split, like a committee. I just don't see it. I think CH is going to come back, take back his starting role, almost like Chubb and Dearness Johnson. Dearness Johnson looked fantastic, but that running back role belongs
Chubb's
to Chubb.
spot.
He's his spot. Same thing here on this offense with CEH. So anyway, I'm panicked on him. Outside of that, I'm not panicked on anybody.
LeBron says CEH had back-to-back 20-plus games before injury, so
he just wasn't very efficient with them, was all I was saying. But I get it. He was getting that workload.
We'll
Corey, you have anything to add there?
Not really. I was also reading this over here from Mr. Sarcastic. The Raiders couldn't run a too-high safety defense. Don't expect the same from the Chiefs going forward. I don't know, man. I think it's not a bad point, but at the same time,
that's not the problem, Mr. Sarcastic. Is what you saw Mahomes do against the Raiders defense was what we've not seen Mahomes do in prior games, which is to take what the defense gives him and then to take your chances or your shots downfield when the opportunity presents itself. So as long as Mahomes can be disciplined, and they definitely don't run a West Coast style offense, but you saw the checkdowns, Travis Kelce more involved. So I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think they've made their adjustments, much like the Bills did, and I'm not worried about this offense moving forward. I don't think this was just a one-game fluke against the Raiders. Raiders have a very, very good pass defense.
Yeah, it's not a one-game fluke. It's more of a rebound to norms.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, though, Tony. He took what the defense gave him, which is why Kelce also had a great game. Like we talked about it last week, he just overlooked wide open players in the middle of the field to go for a deep ball in triple coverage. I don't know what was going through his mind, but he got back to playing smart, and we just saw it dominate. I love it.
Yeah. Let's switch gears over here to the Raiders side. Not a great day rushing for Drake or Jacobs.
No, not at all.
But we kind of expected that against Kansas City, so we're not really freaking out about that. Renfro had a great day. Bryan Edwards actually had a really good day. Darren Waller, not so much, but I'm not panicking on him either. What are y'all thinking for
he also had a touchdown called back. Waller had a touchdown called back on a hold. So 7 targets. I don't mind that. Those are good numbers. Granted, they were turned into 4 catches for 24 yards, but he was on a 91% snap count. Again, he gets that touchdown, and we're looking at a 14-point day instead of 6.4. It's just half a second away from a bigger day from him. So,
what do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I'm not panicked on Waller. I'd like to see him have the role that we expect him to have. The offense, that passing offense in prior games, and certainly we haven't seen it too much this season, really kind of was built around Darren Waller. And he is an obvious mismatch for defensive backs. He's easily, the most talented player on the field for the Raiders offense. And I don't quite get why they are not featuring him more as a receiver in this offense. I'm not panicked on him. I'd like to be able to kind of put that behind us though. And like every week, I feel like I'm saying, we're not panicked on Waller. We're not panicked on Waller. And yet he's getting these targets and just not producing. So I'm not panicked on, that said, I'm not panicked on Waller. And if you have Waller, you're going to continue to start him, and you don't trade him, don't move him and let somebody buy him low from you, because this guy gives you the potential every week to be a top 2, top 3 tight end.
Yep.
Absolutely agree. So let's move on to our last game here. We got the Rams at the Niners. Let's start out with the Rams.
Well, if we're going to start out with the Rams, I want to talk about this really quick. Odell Beckham joins the Rams and they just implode. Coincidence? I think not.
Now listen, I think I think Beckham gave Robert Woods the old Tanya Harding treatment. I still maintain that. I think
you might have knocked that one out of the park.
Yeah. So, not a super productive day for Henderson. Cup had a great game as usual. Jefferson did pretty well. Higbee involved, got him a touchdown. I don't see anything worth panicking about. Beckham, you didn't expect a lot from him right out of the gate. So I don't think there's anything here to panic about yet. What do you guys think?
No, I agree.
Yeah. I'm a little bit nervous on Henderson. I wouldn't say I'm panicked on Henderson. I'm just...
think he's wearing down a little bit with full workload over the course of a season.
I wouldn't say he's wearing down. I don't like the fact that he is not... And look, the game script didn't work out to his advantage tonight. They jumped out to a 14-point lead, and they just could never get their offensive footing and had a lean on that passing game.
Well, and Henderson got hurt, right?
What's that?
Henderson got hurt, too.
He's evaluated for a concussion for like a series or two, but he came back.
Okay.
I just would like to see him have a high floor where
there's no volume there. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, the 4 receptions for 10 yards, like get him more involved in this offense to get him going. So that makes me a little bit nervous because, you want to have guys who are going to give you a high floor week in and week out. And Henderson kind of fell flat tonight for me. So
we'll put him on the watch list, but not the panic list.
I'm not panicked. Again, from 0 to 10, I say 4. So I'm not super panicked. I just, just kind of I'm nervous that a number 1 running back for a high-powered offense gives you these types of stat lines.
3 out of the last 4 games he's done this, and
so
one of those,
nervous about him.
And one of those was Detroit.
Yeah, and I have stock in Henderson, so I've got Henderson, and you're looking at him as hoping for him to be an RB1, high-end RB2, and he's not been that. He was that, but he hasn't been that, like you say. But that's a great point. 3 out of the past 4 games.
Yeah, that's right. It is concerning. Let's jump over to San Francisco. If you're panicked on anybody at this point, it's probably going to be Trey Sermon. If you haven't dropped him already, go ahead and do it. Mitchell's never good. Mitchell owns this backfield until he
still talking Trey Sermon? Trey Sermon's been out of the picture for weeks.
I'm just like at this point, there's no shot he ever even had a part of this offense. Mitchell's just playing way too well. But like we talked about earlier, Samuel is becoming kind of that hybrid Cordell Patterson type in this offense, getting carries out of the backfield. I'm not talking jet sweeps. I'm talking straight handoffs in the red zone.
They wanted to get him involved.
They're just trying to get him the ball any way they can.
Was it just me, or did it seem like this guy had 25 catches tonight? How did he only have 5 catches for 97 yards?
I don't know. He had the ball on every play.
Like every time I needed to catch, he was catching it.
Yeah.
I will say
I don't see anybody to panic about.
Yeah, I do.
Hit me with it.
I do. On a game where look, Garoppolo didn't throw that many passes, 19 passes, 15 completions, but it just seemed like Brandon Ayuk was beginning to establish a role in this offense, and then all of a sudden Kittle comes back. Kittle is the the number 2, or maybe he's maybe Samuel is the 1A and he's the 1B receiver in this offense. And now all of a sudden Ayuk takes a backseat again. So, everyone who had the Brandon Ayuk were, kind of hoping that this was going to be their moment to get usage out of him, and Kittle stole this thunder.
Yeah. Pretty unfortunate as an Ayuk owner. Although Ayuk did look good, that 121-yard catch he had where he was breaking tackles. Like, he looked good.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't have the targets. Like Kittle was the target leader. Which is exciting to see as a Kittle lover myself. We've covered plenty here on the network.
No, I was texting during the game. I'm like, I'll tell you, when Kittle's healthy, he's a monster. This guy,
which is pretty much all I've said. I love him when he's healthy.
This guy would have had a huge game if they were not up by 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Yeah. If they ever get in a tight game, this dude's going to score 30
He just
points.
seemed to have their number tonight.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
All right, well, that's all the games. Let's hit these questions in the chat. Corey, you're running chat. So.
Yep, I'll scroll up. And we'll start with the very first one. It says panic on Russell Wilson for sure. No.
False.
My sushi lover.
First game back, that whole team struggled. Not panicked on Russell Wilson. So not for sure.
It's like we talked about. He's just like Dak last week. Like he came back off an injury, out of sync. Don't panic.
He had this thing. He had the finger sleeve on. He was not 100%.
Yeah.
And I think Russell Wilson was probably closer to 75%, but 75% of Russell is better than 100% of Geno Smith. So they rolled him out there.
Absolutely.
But this was not classic Russell. I mean, they even talked about it during the game that he had done some things in this game that he never done in his career. So as far as lows, and I don't expect him to repeat that.
No.
So we got 14 minutes till safe.
Okay,
safe pace. So we got to rapid fire.
Let's do these really quick. Tony, hold up both of your hands. Okay, no finger sleeves, so no excuses. Still panic button on, Tony. Okay, on to the next
I appreciate the panic button on.
AJ Brown and Ramondre for Fournette and Waddle PPR. What do you think there? Which side would win that, Fournette and Waddle or AJ Brown and Ramondre Stevenson?
I want the AJ Brown side.
I'm not moving on AJ Brown for that.
I'm loving me
for Fournette and Waddle.
I wouldn't move AJ Brown for that. AJ Brown's is a top.
He's a top 5 overall type player. Like you're not getting rid of AJ Brown.
You can't move AJ Brown for that.
Yep. Okay. So no.
And look, and hey, here's the thing too. Ramondre has some good upside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And maybe Damian Harris gets his knee hit too. Maybe he gets a Odell Beckham.
Ramondre Stevenson, this coaching staff has been talking about him for weeks. They love this kid. He's involved with the passing game. I'm not saying that he's going to replace Damian Harris, but I think he's going to have a larger and larger role in this offense. And if they use him as a receiver out of the backfield, he's going to give you a higher floor. Even though Fournette has been, kind of used in that type of a role, I just would not move AJ Brown. Even if it was just AJ Brown for Fournette and Waddle without Ramondre, I wouldn't do it.
Yep. Yeah. Alrighty. Panic on DK. We already Absolutely said no. Who's better, DK or Lockett for PPR rest of season? I want DK.
DK.
Yep. Absolutely.
100%. It's an easy one.
Josh Allen and Diggs, roll with Diggs or trade him. I have Jamar Chase, also Amari Cooper.
Trade Cooper,
stick with Diggs. Yeah.
Yep.
You ain't moving Diggs.
Nah. Just got offered Zeke, D-Hop, and Pitts for Kittle, Eckler, Damian Harris, and Stevenson. If I do the trade, I get Zeke side. Okay, so you would get Zeke, D-Hop, and Pitts. You would trade away Kittle, Eckler, Damian Harris, and Stevenson.
Oh,
I think I want it PPR
Give me
here.
Kittle, Eckler side.
Yeah, I want Kittle, Eckler, Harris, Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
You've got to take that trade.
Yeah, you want. No, he said he would get the Zeke side. So you want him to take Zeke, D-Hop, and Pitts.
Oh my goodness, 1,000%
over Kittle, Eckler.
I talked about this on D-Hop was one of my I think it was my super special buy low candidate of the week. Kyler Murray's coming back. D-Hop is getting healthy. You're going to want this guy down the stretch. I think people forget how good D-Hop is. The last 4 years he's finished. The worst he's finished is wide receiver 5. So if you can get that guy in your lineup with Zeke and Pitts, I don't know who you're starting at tight end, but Pitts has a huge ceiling rest of the
Kittle
season.
Probably because he's giving away Kittle. But
I mean, you're basically just giving away Eckler. For Eckler, you're getting Zeke, D-Hop, and Pitts. I think that's a no-brainer.
He's giving away Kittle too.
Kittle's in there.
Oh, I missed Kittle. in there.
Because it's not capitalized, so you missed Kittle.
I missed Kittle.
He doesn't like Kittle that much.
I have a thing against. No, not true at all.
It just blocks him out on his screen automatically when the name Kittle pops up, so it just looks like a little blur, like a little sensor spot.
Not true.
But
Not true.
but also the Zeke side is 3 starting players, and the other side is essentially 2 because I don't know that I trust Damian Harris or Stevenson enough
I
to
I
really
think
start
Zeke
them.
is a slight upgrade over Eckler. The tight ends, I probably would put Pitts and Kittle very, very close, similar in value. I do like Pitts more because Kittle just hasn't shown the ability to stay healthy. So I'm nervous that Kittle can get injured in any minute. And you get a legit top 5 receiver. So why would you not do that?
Yeah, I think I would take that.
9
I think
minutes
you
till
kill him
safe
in that
space.
trade. Yes,
Oh.
drop Julio for Jorge.
I have Claypool and Julio. Should I drop Julio?
We
Yep.
talked about
Yes.
that one earlier.
Yep,
Yeah,
drop
drop
him.
Julio.
I have Patterson, Connor, AP, AD. Just saying. I'm getting offered Fournette and Robinson, but I have to give up Jamar Chase. Is it worth it?
Who's your other receivers?
Yeah, it depends on who your other receivers are, but
4th overall.
Patterson Connor's not terrible.
He says the guy willing to give me Dillon and Fournette for Robinson or Jamar Chase and Claypool or AD. I don't know what to do.
I'm
Or AP?
trying to follow along in this sentence here as to what he's
Yeah,
saying.
same.
Willing to give me Dillon and Fournette for Robinson for Chase and Claypool or Peterson.
So give me Dillon and Fournette or Robinson. So he can get Fournette or Robinson for Jamar Chase
Basically.
and Claypool or AP. Well, you don't want AP, so you can keep Claypool. I just don't know who your other receivers are to give up Chase.
Basically, it sounds like the other guy needs. Yeah, keep Claypool, trade AP, and he gets Dillon and Fournette or Robinson for Chase and AP. I don't know if I'm giving up Chase for Robinson or Fournette, though. Yeah, Dillon would be nice for a week while Jones is out, but
Hold on.
it's not a season ender for Jones.
So he says also, who is Jamar Chase worth trading for since Patterson's out? Or should I try and roll with Peterson, Connor, maybe pick up a waiver? I have Miles Sanders. Drop him.
I wouldn't drop Sanders yet. If he comes back and gets
so I'll give you a couple of guys. So here's the thing. I would trade Jamar Chase for James Robinson. But I don't know who your other receiver. So if you're going to create a hole at your receiver position to get a running back, that I wouldn't do. But I'd like to know who your other receivers are. Another guy you can target is a Saquon Barkley. Barkley right now is coming back healthy, and he's a guy who can be a league winner for you down the stretch. Coming back off of his ankle injury.
I don't know. Let's see. That's Jorge. I don't know if this is in response to what we're talking about right now, or if this was for something else. He says Diggs and Cooper, I guess, are his other receivers. And which we've talked about. Trade Cooper. Keep Diggs and
Cook,
Chase.
Jacobs, Brady, Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, Hopkins, and Julio. So if is he leaving? Oh, that's somebody else.
He just said he has Diggs, Cooper, Claypool, Julio. That's his. Along with Chase. So if he trades Chase, that's who he has left. Diggs, Cooper, Claypool, Julio.
Guys, we may have to kind of move on here to hit some more of these here. So it's a lot to digest and try to pick apart.
You can do better than that for Chase.
I agree.
What we're saying.
Okay.
I would,
dude. Jorge, DM us on Instagram. Tell us your Jorge, and I'll get back with you after the show because we're gonna have to wrap this up real quick for safe space to start. So
yep.
Hit me up on the DMs, and I'll get back to you, bud.
For the bronze, if I could confess my way into Dak, CD, and Hawkinson for Hurts plus Devontae Adams, I take it and run. I have Kelsey.
Yes.
If you're the one getting the Cowboys and Hawk, yeah.
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 I think that's what he's saying.
I think
so.
But
I'm not sure what side of that he's on.
He has Kelsey, so it makes me think he's sending Hawkinson.
Yeah, it makes me
If you're getting Adams and Hurts there, you're messing up.
You agree, Tony?
I don't want to downgrade from Dak to Hurts.
Yeah, right. I don't either.
So if he's on the Devontae Adams side, I'd love to get Devontae Adams, but I don't want to give Dak and CD in order to do it.
Yeah, that's
if you can give CD and Hawkinson for Adams, I would do that, but I don't want to lose Dak.
I like that. Yep.
I agree.
Dylan or Stevenson for week 11?
Dylan.
Yep.
I don't even care who they're playing. Dylan.
Minnesota. That's a no-brainer. Dylan's an RB1 without Aaron Jones there.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. Alrighty, looking to see if we have any more that were in here. Ooh, I got a lot of double ups. What the heck is going on? These things are appearing 3 and 4 times a piece over here. So sorry. Just traded away Jalen Hurts for Pittman Jr. What do you think? I have Brady full PPR. Total win.
Love it.
That's fantastic. I traded Goddard, Melvin Gordon, and Higgins for Kelsey Judy somehow before this week. Fantastic. That's a good win for you there. Let's see here. So can you guys please help me? I'm 1C in QB point heavy league. I'm on a losing streak. I'm looking to make a league winning trade pick. I have Cooks, Jacobs, Brady, Pitts, Judy, Hopkins, Julio.
Hit me up on DMs. We don't have time to unpack that right now.
Yep.
But hit me on DMs with that and tell me who you were here in the chat in the message so that I know.
Just send that exact question to us on Instagram. We'll get you back for sure.
Copy and paste it. Yep.
Panic on Eckler?
No,
I'm not panicked on Eckler. They'll get it back together.
No.
Let's see. Jamar Chase, rest of season. What do you think, Tony?
I don't know that he's going to be a wide receiver 1. I think he's more of a high-end wide receiver 2. But he's got some tough matchups, and I think you have to really temper your expectations.
For sure. How about Najee rest of season?
Top 5.
Yeah,
gonna look good. Just imagine if Nick Chubb gets to play against the Lions. Yeah, no joke. That'd be gross.
Just real quick, this guy Jorge posted again. What's a good running back to trade for?
With what?
Right after.
I guess just in general, buy lows. So I'm thinking like Eckler, Aaron Jones, guys like that.
Did he say wide receiver or running back?
Running back.
I just want to get two or three quick names.
Hit him. Go.
Yeah. So
Aaron Jones.
Saquon Barkley, buy him low before he comes back from his injury. If you can get DeAndre Swift, I'd get DeAndre Swift. Some owners are a little bit down on him, and I think it might be a buy low opportunity for him. And Eckler, you see people are panicked on Eckler. If you can get Eckler.
Yep. That's what I'm going to try to do. David Montgomery got a soft schedule, but he just had a good game too. I feel like
7.
Yep. 7. We're going to cut it off here, man. Send them all over to you over in Safe Space.
Absolutely, guys. Join 7:00 over in Safe Space. It's coming on live next. Click over to that video and join him. Grab a drink and just chill out for a little bit and talk some fantasy football. How your week went, Tony, Kyle. Thanks for joining us.
This guy is Luke that says he can't DM you.
Email us.
Can he jump over to Safe Space?
Jump over on Safe Space with 7. He'll hook you up.
And you guys can help him there.
Absolutely, guys. Join over there, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Night.